All right, so now we're recording. Thomas, I'll let you go ahead and take over.
Excellent. Thanks, Ron. Hello, everyone. Once again, my name is Thomas Dale Corpellino. I am the director of the housing division at Kitsap Community Resources, and I am excited to be sharing today. I'm going to be trying my best to give you a general overview as best I can, balanced with specificity. So, dialogue, discussion, questions are absolutely welcome. And anything that I can't answer today, I'll write down so I can try to get the answer for it today. But there's quite a lot, so I'm just going to jump in and begin here. All right, so in KCR Housing, depending on who you ask, we have 13 to 15 programs. So some of those are kind of co-programs that we partner with other folks, or they're unfunded programs. But generally speaking, there are about 15 programs or so in KCR, and I'm going to do my best to overview them all today. We have multiple sites at KCR, so you can see here a nice little Google map. Our main location is on 8th Street in Bremerton, Washington, 845 8th Street. But we also have 1201 Park Avenue in Bremerton, Washington. That's the main location for our housing division. That's where I'm at today. That's the building I'm in. That's where the majority of our staff are housed. But we also have satellites. So we have our South Kitsap office in Port Orchard. And then we also have a housing navigator in Fishline and Paulsbo and Helpline House, Bainbridge Island, a few days a week, less so up in the north. But we have these 15 programs across these different sites that we manage. And I'm going to start with coordinated entry, which is really where it all begins. So first step in addressing homelessness is coordinated entry. So we hold the coordinated entry contract for Kitsap County, which means that we are the kind of the first go-to for Nexus referral for other resources. So our navigators meet with people and we provide them with housing resources, including counsel, landlord lists, and support what they might need immediately. And then we figure out where we can support them in going next in terms of referral. So we talk to them about options. We create housing plans with our clients on what they want to do. So these are client-driven programs. And there's a potential for rental assistance or move-in assistance that is often discussed during a coordinated entry intake. We also do shelter referrals. So other than the Salvation Army, which is a no barrier shelter, every other shelter in Kitsap County is either low barrier or higher. And so we have to be the referring body for that. And we have to enter in information into the homeless management information system when people come in. So, for example, a client might identify that they want to go into the Kitsap Rescue Mission shelter located in South Kitsap, but their first step is not going there and knocking on the door and saying, "Hey, can I come in?" Their first step would actually be connecting with us, whether at one of our Housing Solutions Center navigation sites, or we would come to them. It's not uncommon where we come to a client to assist them in this process. So this is the general process, right? So you've probably seen this before. This should look somewhat familiar. This is a continuum of care model. And so what this basically shows is kind of the long continuum of what housing is or what it could mean for individuals. So, we are a housing first organization. We believe that securing housing resources for our clients is key to success in all the other endeavors in their life. But that can look pretty complicated. So our coordinated entry team, they intake clients as they come in and they determine where they go next. And that can look in a lot of different ways. So a client might be immediately homeless when they come to us, or they might be further along the continuum. They could be in shelter coming back to us, or they might be in transitional housing, or they might be in community housing and behind on rent. Or they might be a homeowner. We've had homeowners come to us who say, "Hey, I think I'm at risk here, and I don't want to become homeless. So what do I do, and where do I go next?" So it's ultimately client driven and dependent upon the unique factors of their situation. But we do an intake and assessment at coordinated entry, and then make a plan for referral. So as you can see on this model here, someone might come in the red. They might be immediately homeless, and so they might need immediate shelter. And so that's a top priority for someone. We need to make sure that they have immediate shelter instead of sleeping in their car or potentially on the street at risk. And so we would try to find them shelter, but that's a part of a longer term plan. The longer term plan is I want to get supportive and eventually final housing. I want to be able to pay for my own housing self-sufficiently on my own. And so for many clients, that's kind of a step plan. But as you're going to see in the rest of my presentation, we have many different programs that qualify differently And so depending on the status of the client, we might direct them differently based off of their qualifications. Okay, so in the coordinated entry / housing solution center, which I should confirm. So we hold the coordinated entry contract. We do business as the Housing Solution Center. The Housing Solution Center is a organization of KCR. So that's kind of confusing, but effectively, when you hear KCR Housing Solution Center, that means the people who are doing coordinated entry, that's us. So we offer help for people who are looking to get into treatment, clean and sober transitional housing. So there's more than just a referral. There's a housing council that goes into this as well. We can also help with diversions, such as buying bus tickets to divert people from homelessness. This is not our first lever that we like to pull, but there have been many scenarios where diversion made a lot of sense. For example, one of the success stories that one of my team members told me today was a recent success story where a client, a mother here in Kitsap County, she lost her job. She was living out of her car effectively and trying to do the right things to redirect her life, but just struggling. Could not get a new job. Couldn't just was trying to and could not do it. And so eventually she came to us. She mustered up the courage to talk to us, which is really good. And we made a plan with her, and she has a job lined up. Her sister helped her get a job. So, we reached out to her family and connected with them. And her sister really wants to support her and her son. And so coordinated a diversion there, and we helped pay for that, right? So we got the bus ticket and the plane ticket to make that happen. Again, not our first lever. We often try to look for community-based solutions here in Kitsap, but that's one of the levers we have. Our coordinated entry also is the first step in our foundational community supports program. There's probably a lot of other organizations that utilize FCS as well, and so do we. And so our coordinated entry, they offer assessment for our clients to get into case management. That is client-driven, so it's not required, but any clients who are seeking case managers or any case management, we highly recommend it. It doesn't have to be with us either. So if clients, says, yeah, I'd like case management, but I don't want to do it here. that can happen. We might have clients who are working with other case managers, maybe Kitsap Mental Health or Kitsap Homes of Compassion. And so they might be enrolled in their FCS program. So we can start that assessment and then make a referral to as well, if that's what the client wants. I'm going to move myself here. And so one of the fun stats from this last year. So our housing navigation team, just thus far and before the close of this year, they've assisted in over 3,500 meetings with participants coming through the Housing Solutions Center. So it is high volume. If you've ever driven by 1201 Park Avenue, sometimes you can see just how busy it gets. It probably goes without saying right now in our historically exceptional time, we're seeing an increase in need. And so I think that volume is only increasing right now. All right, so our HEART team is an extension of our coordinated entry team. So you may have heard of HEART. They're out and about in the community. And so we are a puzzle piece of the larger HEART team. The HEART team is Homeless Encampment, Action, Response, and Transitions, aka the HEART team. And so use two of our outreach specialists here, CJ and Dice. And CJ and Dice work directly with the sheriff and with our fire and rescue cares departments. So North, Central, and South Kitsap Fire and Rescue, as well as Kitsap County Sheriff's Office and the county directly. So their typical day is they come in the morning and they check in with the county on encampment reports or follow-ups. So every morning we get information on encampments. We are not part of the "Hey, please move" portion of that. That's not KCR's role. Often it is the case where police enforcement might play that role. And so we try to collaborate. We try to collaborate and try to find ways to help our clients not have to directly experience that sort of engagement. We'd rather them seek services or amicably maybe relocate and find new spaces. It's a lot of give and pull and push and pull from this programming in balance with our local law enforcement. We want to try to be supportive of our clients through what could possibly be challenging confrontations. And so this team is really an extension of coordinated entry. This team also goes out if people can't make it to us. So every now and then we'll get a call from someone, hey, I'm experiencing homelessness risk. Or I am homeless, but I can't make it into the Housing Solution Center. It's just too far away. I can't get to 1201 Park, or I can't get to your South Kitsap office. We have some encampments. There's several encampments in this county, and many of them are pretty far out. And so this is this team, part of their work gear is hiking boots. They're often hiking out to encampments and meeting people directly with where they're at to assist them with mobile technology. Okay, so what else do they do? So again, they connect individuals based off of county properties. I should say too, this is for Kitsap County proper, but we don't mind overextending and assisting our partners if they ask for it. So while we don't specifically do outreach in Bremerton as per contracting, we do. And we're happy to help anyone who's in Bremerton who's wanting that assistance and seeking that. But we have to prioritize our contract with the county. So basically what that means is if the county tells us, hey, you're prioritizing going up to Kingston today, that's what this team must do, right? We have to make sure that we follow up immediately on these requests. We maintain participant follow-ups, and really it's relationship building. One of the stories I heard from my team today was, it takes 5 or 6 engagements before some of our clients who are in encampments really actually trust us and will move forward with the process. So in some ways, our outreach specialists are case managers. They're meeting with a lot of the same folks on a repeat basis, trying to build relationship and connection. So that way it does open up to where they say, oh, I might want to go to detox, or actually, no, I do want to try transitional housing. I think that is something that I'd like to do. It's almost strange to see and feel, but not all of our clients immediately are ready to accept housing and homelessness resources and support. And especially if they're in aggravated situations, maybe they're being moved around the county or told to move, and so their struggles are pretty unique, I would say. And having someone in their corner to advocate for them during a challenging move like that is really key to this program. So really what we're doing is we're providing hope for some of our clients. Some of our clients don't always want to engage in resources, but they do need that hope, that knowing that they're just not forgotten or ignored out in encampments. Okay, so for quarters 1 through 3, so year to date, we've had some pretty cool performance here. So we've done 608 site referrals, with 105 being new participants, so 105 new unhoused individuals identified so far this year, and 111 of those were shelter referrals. And what I think is really cool here is there were more shelter referrals than the new clients. So again, I think that kind of really speaks to the fact that sometimes it's not an immediate referral that happens, but it's a relationship build that eventually that seed is nourished and erupts into an engagement. Okay, I shared that story, so for the sake of time, I'm gonna move forward here on that. Okay, that's probably a lot. Any questions? So that's just 2 kind of programs here so far, Coordinated Entry and HEART. I'm going to go over the kind of the overall model for HSC next, but yeah, I'd love questions. Diana, I see your hand, and I'm not going to be able to see everyone's hand, so I'm going to rely on Yvonne to help me out here.
So if we have an Olympic Collect client who's experiencing homelessness and they tell us that they have gone to KCR, but KCR didn't have anything for them. And I think what they're saying is right now, like, can I move
Yep.
into a house right now? They get discouraged and they keep spiraling downward. Is there a way for us to refer them to the Heart team or to connect with the Heart team and say, well, I know my client is staying at such and such location in their car?
Yes. So I will, wonderful question. I will provide both Dice and CJ's contact as well as their supervisor, Amber Carter, at the end of this presentation. And doing a direct referral is certainly welcome. So yeah, if you have someone who's living in their car, or living in the backyard, and a place not habitable for living, right? Anything that is considered, encampment or beyond, we would absolutely want to follow up and try to meet with that individual on their terms, right? Where it might be easier. And the first part of your question of kind of the right now, 100%. And in this kind of next slides, I'm going to speak to that kind of the right now because there's certainly there's more need than there are resources. So that's going to be part of what I'm going to be overviewing as well. I see a hand from Kimberly.
Thank you.
Oh, I can unmute myself. Hi, thank you. I'm over in Jefferson County, so do you have a person at Bayside that you work with? I saw that Bayside is our coordinate. I just looked it up. I hadn't heard that coordinated, what
Entry?
was the
Yeah.
term you used? Coordinated entry,
Um,
and they are the coordinated entry I see in Jefferson County, so.
Yeah, so they would be the ones, send them their way, but here's where it's going to differ. So, what I'm showcasing today is, it's coordinated entry and all of our supportive housing programs. Every organization, so in Jefferson County, they're probably going to have different supportive housing resources, but the key piece that coordinated entry plays is that referral, right? And so coordinated entry doesn't have like direct rental assistance. That's a lot of our other programs that we coordinate to. But coordinated entry itself doesn't directly have that rental assistance component.
But it is the hub where people can go and be assessed and um, see what's possible.
Yep,
So that would
absolutely.
be
And
okay.
I would note too,
Great.
even and this I think this kind of speaks to Diana's question too a little bit on the I didn't have anything right now, no resources right now sort of thing. I can't speak precisely to what Jefferson County has, but I will say, one of the functions we have that I suspect is similar for them, is coordination and collaboration with the housing authority. Ours is Bremerton Housing Authority, Housing Kitsap. They probably have their own entity. But a lot of times those housing authorities have their selections based off of coordinated entry data. And so what that means for us is, like for instance, if somebody wants to be selected for transitional housing, that we don't actually do the direct selection for that unless it's an exception and it follows after. We wait for the housing authority to say, hey, here's a list. Well, the county actually, the county says, here's a list, and here's what we got for people that went through your systems that are also working with housing authority. Here's your selection list. And so what ends up happening for us a lot of times is we're not able to help someone immediately, but because they went through coordinated entry, they're now on that waiting list effectively. And it's not uncommon, like in 6 months or 9 months, we call them. That's obviously a huge lag time and not
Yes.
ideal, but that's a function you want your clients to have. You want them to go through coordinated entry to be on every possible waiting list.
Right, yeah. And I think OECAP out here is the housing authority.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that would, but starting with you gets them on that list. Or
Yep.
starting
Yep.
with the coordinated gets them on the list so that, then they still have to put in an application with the housing authority.
Yep. Yep.
But
Exactly. Yeah. There's still
so
another
okay.
hoop.
Yeah, hoops. There
Yeah.
are hoops. Okay, thank you so
Yep.
much.
But yeah, the housing authority will check because they're going to say, just like our shelters do, they're going to say, well, have you gone through coordinated entry? Right. And because they have to check the box, you've exhausted all other resources, before coming to us, basically.
Perfect. Thank you.
Course. Okay. I don't see anyone hands. So sorry if I'm missing anyone. I'm going to go over the HSC model, past, present, and future. And I think it speaks really well to some of these recent questions. So this is the past model and, kind of using that loosely because we're in transition. I joined KCR probably about a year and a half ago. And my background is in organizational development. So I'm less so, kind of a specific housing expert, more so I'm an organizational expert. And so one of the things we're just trying to do is just better serve our clients through this model right now. So this is kind of what it has been. And I'll talk about kind of where it's going. So we have an at-risk population of Kitsap. It's approximately 300. We think that number is probably underestimated, but that's the official, count number that we got. So probably a lot more folks that are uncounted there, but that's what we're working with. And so our entire at-risk population, they are coming to, or theoretically they should be coming to coordinated entry, and that's great. Here's kind of where the breakdown happens though. So, right now in terms of programs in Kitsap from what we've measured, and this is, a few months old, so it's a little bit inaccurate, but it's potentially worse now, I would say. But with everyone who's going through, only a little bit under 47% are selected for supportive housing programs. So what that means is, the majority of individuals who are coming in and seeking housing services don't necessarily get them. We have longer wait lists than we do have caseload lists for a lot of programs. And that's a problem. We see that as a huge problem because we have our clients who I feel muster up the courage to even come in through our doors, right? I think that's a challenge just in and of itself, to do, and to come in and have a less than 50% success rate is not ideal. So we're trying to improve that. So for the folks that are not successful, they remain directly homeless, effectively. So they are either in a low barrier or no barrier shelter. They might be in Salvation Army. Maybe they're diverted towards some success, or more likely they're still in direct homelessness, and often without a case manager, right? So they might come in, they might hear some resources that we refer to, but then what happens next? And so this is a huge gap. It's a gap, and it's something that we want to address and improve. And there's probably a little bit under 2% of just insufficient data for that too as well. So just tracking our clients after they've come in through and met with us, and then they go back into homelessness, can be really challenging. Our heart team does their best to try to account for everyone that's in the county, but the reality is we can't always account for someone after they leave, and that concerns us. Okay, and then what happens is, well, they do it again. They're still at risk, and maybe they'll just come back to coordinated entry. Maybe they'll go, okay, I found a new program at BHA. And what are they going to say? Well, go back to coordinated entry, right? And so you go back. So, this is something that we didn't like. And so what we're doing to change this is we are just ramping up FCS supports. And that's going to be the next thing I'm going to be talking about. So if your organization is using FCS supports, thank you. I think it's a huge contribution to your community. And it's something that we're trying to improve here at KCR. So our goal here is basically to get everyone selected for a supportive housing program and everyone to have a case manager, right? So we want to get rid of this looping back around. We don't want anyone to really have to go through our system more than once, right? We really want to be a one-stop shop, and set someone up for success with a strong plan that moves forward. So we want to serve everyone that comes through our doors, and we believe everyone deserves a case manager. So how do we do that? Right now, we're doing that through foundational community supports, and we are focusing on advancing this program. So FCS program, it creates statewide targeted home and community-based services intended to help Apple Health, so Medicaid beneficiaries. So any clients that are eligible for Medicaid, and I'm fully aware of the current political situation, which makes things challenging, but I'm hopeful. And so anyone who is Medicaid eligible with complex barriers, they would be eligible for this programming. So we work with WellPoint, that's a local insurer here, and to facilitate the FCS program implementation. And effectively, it's case management. So we have some programs that have rental assistance and they don't pay for any case management. FCS only pays for case management. So our plan is to braid this with programming where it's allowed. So that way we can sustain more case managers on staff and support more clients with case management. Okay, so again, eligible populations, 16 or older, they must have insurance and be needs-based. So they have to either be directly homeless, have a behavioral element that they're dealing with, or another risk factor that we can get. We chase after it. So, again, our goal is to have everyone with a case manager. So if if we push this through and they don't qualify, we start trying to figure out, well, why not? What do they need in order to make sure that they qualify? How can we have them go through things? And if we have to give up, then we do, and we look for other case management programs. But we find that this is a fairly accessible program that we have. And so we offer supportive housing services, and then we've been growing employment services too as well. So again, my background's organizational development. So I came in with a lens for the whole agency. And so I've been working collaboratively with the Employment and Training Division at KCR to improve our employment services. So we have a quicker, easier handoff to clients after they go in through coordinated entry. Okay, so go back one, sorry there. Okay, so we've been doing this for about 9 months here, plus or so. And so since January, we've served over 329 clients with supportive housing and over 881 hours of housing services, with 117 clients in our employment services and over 380 hours. So we're really excited for this because, again, that kind of fits our gap, right? We were seeing people kind of fall through the cracks, and this is what we're trying to do to stop them from falling through the cracks. The success story we had for this was kind of another example of kind of a waiting game. So FCS is a good kind of program to be in that can at least establish connection and contact, so that way when a wait list happens, then we can act on it quickly. So in this case, we had a client who was living with her son in her car. Both were abusing substances and unemployed. They reached out to us. The mother was ready to get clean and really wanted some help in doing so. And so a lot of programs were full. This was happening actually during our standby, so we were impacted by federal government decisions, et cetera. And so we got them onto FCS though, and we quickly applied to braid with a program. So they had to wait a minute, but we were able to braid that, and we got them into transitional housing. So we made sure that they were square with Permanent Housing Authority, made sure that all their application was in, and their time came up and they were selected. And so we got them into transitional housing. And so we're working with that client now. She's enrolled at Olympic College, going to school, trying to upskill herself. And her son is back in school too, as well. And they're both, of course, seeking services with their substance use disorder too as well. But they're both in school, so we consider that a huge win. That was initiated simply from starting a program that didn't have rental assistance tied to it, but gave a case manager so there could be someone to continuously check in, a consistency in these clients' lives. Okay, so that's FCS. Another program we have is our emergency hotel program. And often when I talk about this program, it's really it's kind of a bummer, but it's really just educating the limits and constraints. So our emergency hotel program falls under coordinated entry. So we manage it through coordinated entry. So if someone says, oh, I want to seek a hotel, you send them to coordinated entry because we're going to do an assessment to see what sort of services or programs they would be best eligible for. And because this is a highly constrained program, it's often denied. It often is, but let me go through some of the determination here. So eligibility for the program is determined by case, by a housing navigator, case manager, and a housing supervisor. So there's kind of a roundtable council that happens. It's a combination of quantitative factors because we do a vulnerability screening for all of our clients that go through coordinated entry. And then we do qualitative roundtable to just understand the factors of an individual. This often comes in if they're banned. So sometimes we have a highly vulnerable individual, but they're banned from all hotels. And so they might be the most qualified in terms of vulnerability score, but we're not allowed to hotel them with a lot of partners. And so that can sometimes be a huge barrier for our clients. Oftentimes, the clients who are prioritized for this are most vulnerable. Often they have disabilities or they cannot shelter in traditional shelter. They might be fleeing DV and their abuser might be at the shelter. And so we reserve our hotel program for really the most extreme cases. So our budget for this is about 10 individuals, right? So right now we have about 10 individuals who are in stay. That's kind of the sobering number when I talk to people, because I think in the past, KCR has probably had a more robust hotel program. So it seemed like, oh, there's a lot of hotels available. There's not a ton of availability. So everyone's allowed to apply for this. It's open for applying, but our supervision team, they run that vulnerability check against our current individuals who are in there. And if they have to, they'll make a hard call of exiting another individual to make room for another individual. But I can say pretty firmly right now, the individuals that we have in there are pretty high barrier. We have some heavy disabilities for the folks that are in there right now. So people are always welcome to apply, but a big part of this is tempering expectations. We don't have a ton of hotel resources in Kitsap County. Kitsap County subcontracts out the hotel program to many different entities. So Salvation Army has some of their own hotels. I believe Kitsap Homeless Compassion has used some in the past, but they're just as limited as we are, if not more, right? Their constraints are very real. So this is not a robust program. It's also not a very efficient program. It's very expensive. We have to budget based not only on the rates that we get in the hotel, but we have to project cost of damages. It's not uncommon where there are damages associated with this program, and so we have to incorporate those costs when we project out our budget for these as well. So the intended goal here is to give participants a safe environment to stabilize and to transition to another housing program or affordable housing through case management, diversion, or through a shelter program. So every client who's in hotel program must have a housing stability plan and must be at least attempting to work through that. We do not do indefinite hotel stays, so it's not something we offer. Okay, that's a lot still. So I'm going to open up for any questions before I move on to our next program. But that's hotel and FCS, which are, two other elements here. Okay, thinking we're good. So on to SEBRA and HARPS. So two programs that are very similar. HARPS is our Housing and Recovery through Peer Services. SEBRA is our Community Behavioral Health Rental Assistance Program. So the key thing here is these clients are getting assistance in a behavioral manner, effectively. And so this is a grant that we get through Washington State Department of Commerce. And our funders probably want to make it clear that these are two separate programs, but historically in the past, sometimes these programs are kind of paired or referred. So some of our tenured folks might know SEBRA as kind of a long-term version of HARPS, or HARPS as a short-term version of SEBRA. There's certainly some truth to that, but it's important to know that they are separate and different, unique programs that have different funding amounts. So we have different funding amounts for these two programs, and that's going to be important as I go over what's next. So, so what do we do in this program? So this program provides long-term or bridge subsidies for high-risk individuals with behavioral health conditions and their households. When partnered with programs offering supportive housing services such as FCS or aging and long-term supports or HARPS, the SEBRA program helps highly vulnerable persons with complex behavioral needs that have opportunities to live independently in the communities of their choice. So effectively, you must have a behavioral health disorder or substance use disorder to qualify for this program. Our top priority is assisting those who are discharged. So we have outreach team members that go to prisons, jails, treatment centers. So that way, when people are outplaced, we can immediately begin working with them. The goal is a warm handoff, if not, working with their case manager side by side for wraparound. So that way they have two case managers in their corner as they go through a transition. So again, we want to help those who are getting discharged. Could be discharged from psychiatric hospitals, community hospital itself. We partner with our local hospital in terms of referrals from them. And we help with getting people to shelter beds, typically respite beds at different shelters as they then transition out and continue their journey. So again, there's a stricter criteria for this. So we have to kind of jump through a few more hoops. They must have a documented behavioral health condition. They need to be eligible for long-term support and services. And they have to have documented a long-term need with no other suitable resource that can meet the long-term subsidy needs. So part of what we do when we process for this is we kind of check the box of, they have applied for and have not received other funding. So it's not uncommon for someone to come in through coordinated entry. We put them on a few different wait lists. Maybe they're not actualized right away. That means they likely qualify for HARPS if they're also experiencing a behavioral health need condition. This is probably the most optically visible grant that we have at KCR Housing. So it's not our biggest grant, but this is the grant. We open it up monthly effectively for application. And so at the beginning of the month, that's where we often see people come in. Hey, I'm applying. HARPS is a monthly application. So there's no wait list per se for HARPS itself. It's something that requires engagement, and we have to have up-to-date paperwork on current diagnosis and current work. Okay, the cool thing about this program is it really supports the client in payment. So it's consistent with HUD standards for affordability. And so clients contribute no more than 30% of their income to the cost of housing. So we have a few clients who are in this program. Some clients, I think their income is 500. I think we have one that's like 130 a month, very low income thresholds. And what that means is they're not paying a lot. Again, SEBRA is the permanent programming. HARPS is kind of the temporary. For SEBRA, this is one of our only permanent programs. There's another one I'm going to mention here at the tail end, but it's a very small program too. So this is also kind of a sombering moment, I think, for our teams because right now we have 7 in our permanent program. So we have 7 members on our SEBRA program. That list is not open. The only way that list will open is if a SEBRA client graduates, which is perhaps unlikely, or if they pass away, right? So if someone is deceased, then we would, there'd be more room on that list. But this is a very small sliver. We actually get this grant from Salish, and so we're really thankful for that. But it's it's a moderate amount of money, and it's not infinite. And so when we have people asking about our permanent programs, we often do inform them, and this could be, to the answer of that earlier question of what do you have? And I was told KCR had nothing. It's often the case that we have closed waitlist for permanent housing, but our HARPS is pretty much always open. We open that up again at the beginning of the month. And then if someone has move-in assistance that they're requesting, we have that open all month. So we don't section that off. So if someone says, hey, I just got out of treatment and identified a place and I want help moving in, we're going to prioritize them and we're going to assist them with moving in through our Housing First model, right? We want to get them housed. They can utilize HARPs pretty quickly as long as they qualify and they meet all those criteria. We can help them pretty quickly from a perspective of exiting treatment or exiting prison or jail. Okay, so that's one of our behavioral grants. It's really two. Again, it's CBRA HARPs, depending on how you slice it, but CBRA and HARPs are two of our behavioral programs. The other behavioral program that we have is our ROAST program. So some of you may have an element of this as well. So Recovery Outreach and Stabilization Team. So this is from the 0.1% grant, I guess, or tax on our county. And so it's funded through taxes. 0.1% on, I believe it's property taxes for mental health, chemical dependency, and therapeutic courts. So we are in a large cohort across Kitsap County. So we're not the ROAST lead, but we have our own ROAST team, and we integrate and support in this system. So what is ROAST? So it supports adults facing behavioral challenges, health challenges, with the goal of stabilizing their housing and well-being. So these services include outreach, rental assistance, eviction prevention, rapid rehousing, and crisis intervention. And so ROAST is kind of a collaborative team. So they work really with our coordinated entry and our supportive housing. They're kind of a cross-trained group that does both outreach with coordinated entry and then case management with our supportive housing side. So they just kind of help bridge that together to make sure that clients are immediately coordinated for their entry as they exit different systems, and then can quickly get into case management. Why do we do it? So ROAST has some goals here. Oops, hold on. It has some goals here from the community that are set out. So these are goals that are set by Kitsap County in conjunction from receiving feedback from our community. And so ROAST targets lowering the legal system encounters for chemically dependent and mentally ill individuals. It hopes to decrease emergency services intervention. So the program aims to reduce expensive hospital and crisis visits through proactive care and support. It hopes to increase stable housing options. So enhances access to stable housing, providing a foundation for recovery and well-being. And we're trying to be data driven. So we're funded by a local tax. We're informed that this won't be here forever, sort of thing. This is money that's here for now. And they're trying to figure out how to best use it and utilize it. So I think that we're still in a very generative process here for growing HARPs or developing the program and what it looks like. But as I said earlier, it's a community approach with a lot of different community partners that are a part of this. So we're trying to employ data to create effective recovery-oriented care systems for long-term impact. We have 2 ROAST outreachers and 2 ROAST specialist case managers. And so these are case managers that are specialized to deal with substance use disorder and who have a background in assisting clients with this particular need. Yes, as I just said. So case management, outreach, there's rental assistance tied to this too. Caseload for this is 40. So we have approximately 40 individuals who are on this shared caseload across 2 different case managers. We do have this open effectively for anyone who goes through coordinated entry. So they're applied. So there is kind of a wait list effectively for this, because we do get graduations that do occur for our clients fairly frequently. So it's a program that people aren't in permanently, right? It's meant to be kind of a transitional program in many ways. Okay, so where are we going next year? So we just want to broaden our outreach and strengthen our collaborations. We are out in the community, but I think we can be out in there more. This is an example of something we're trying to do. We're trying to have more shares for our programming. So thank you for having me for this. We're looking to enhance our data collection. So in conjunction with balancing privacy, I should say, I think that's more and more on our mind in this day and age. And so we want to get more data driven. At the same time, we want to make sure that we are protecting that data. And we want to make sure this program is sustainable. So again, we don't know exactly how much funding is going to continue to follow through for this. So we're trying to braid this with FCS and other programming that we can ensure keeps it stable. And then of course we want feedback. So this isn't, we don't see Roast as our show. It's the community show. We play a puzzle piece. And so we're always looking on feedback for how we can adjust or how we can change what we're doing to be better partners for the whole system that is trying to respond to substance use disorder. Okay, next grant, unless there's questions for that. Our next grant is SAPORA, or City of Port Orchard Rental Assistance. So this is our newest grant. I got to work with our executive director and the Port Orchard City Council to get this implemented, and we're pretty happy about it. But it's a tiny size, but we're hoping it can grow into something bigger. So the city, Port Orchard, granted us it's about $30,000 here is what they granted us, and we can provide up to $2,500 per individual in the city of Port Orchard who qualifies at 50% or below AMI. We can assist them with rent. That is the specific city of Port Orchard. So I posted the little gerrymandered map that you can see down there in the bottom right corner. And so we have to adhere to, that city code. But this is a new grant and we're already getting it spent down. The city has signaled that maybe they might give us more if we're successful. So our hope is to try to spend this as quick as we can and to help more people. So it's just a larger bucket of money that goes for direct assistance. We don't have any ops money for this. So this is just kind of another example where this is a program where we can provide rental assistance, but there's not necessarily money that goes to paying for our staff. So this is a braided program that we braid in with coordinated entry. We might as well, if we're assessing everybody, what's one more question of do you live in the city of Port Orchard proper? And if they do, then we put them on that list for processing for City of Port Orchard rental assistance. Key thing here again, no behavioral health requirement, right? So this is really key for our residents that might be kind of in that gap area where, yep, they're below AMI, but maybe they're not experiencing behavioral health, so they don't qualify for HARPS, which is typically the more accessible grant. So where do they go or what do they do? This is one of those levers, one of those options.
Thomas, can I ask a question? Do you foresee this going past December at all?
I do. I'm hopeful. So, take that with a grain of salt. My team always tells me I'm too much of an idealist, so I'm not trying to be too much of an optimist. But the city council has signaled to us that they enjoy working with us and they want to try to do this. And so I think it's a question I can't answer is how fluid or accessible will City of Port Orchard funding be in the coming months, given all the factors of craziness that we have. That's probably a question I can't answer, but again, they've given positive signaling that they would like to work on this program with us. So my hope is that I can submit that we've by December 31st spent this out and then give further reporting on how effective we think it was. We think that again, there's no money that's operationally tied to this, so that's a challenge, but we think given our size and volume, if we add it to our list of things that, we think we can get it spent. So I'm hopeful.
Do you have, because I know that we have November, December, do you have funding to get you through those 2 months?
Oh yeah, we're going to spend out. So, typically, $30,000 is basically 15 individuals, right? So I think we've already identified 7 since we launched this that we've paid for. And not to be too cynical, but I suspect with SNAP and with other elements kind of impacting families more deeply right now, we will probably see an uptick increase in folks that are coming through our doors. With Port Orchard, I should note, I didn't include this in the notes for the presentation, but when I came into KCR, we were primarily operating out of Bremerton. We served everybody, but we just didn't have a big presence at our South office. And so that's been one of the outreach and partnership initiatives that we've tried to really engage in this last year. We now have someone out there every week. We go to Kitsap community in schools meetings monthly, so that way we can kind of stay plugged into what they're doing there. There's a new Kitsap Rescue Mission shelter that's off of Mile Hill in South Kitsap. So we've really tried to be more present in South Kitsap as the shelter has opened up, but also as we've tried to develop more resources for here. And this was in direct response to our needs assessment too. So when I came in, one of the first things I did was review the needs assessment for KCR, and we're doing a lot of good, but the feedback that we got was, especially for our rural members of our community, transportation and the ability to get into an office or get to a resource center is a huge challenge. And so not only South Kitsap, but really North Kitsap, Bainbridge Island. That was a surprising thing for me to read on the community needs assessment. Was we have a lot of unhoused individuals in Bainbridge Island that just don't have access to services out there. And same with and up north. And so we really want to be more accessible to the rural parts of our, so we can meet that specific need that we know from our needs assessment.
Thank you.
Of course. Okay, so that's City of Port Orchard rental assistance. So again, limited, but if you got clients in South Kitsap, we would love to have them utilize that. And then if we can, maybe we can get more and keep that money flowing through to the community. Okay, so next up here, I don't know if I consider this one program. It's kind of two, kind of three, depending on who you ask. But CHG is Consolidated Housing Grant. That's what CHG is. It's Consolidated Housing Grant, and specifically, this is our grant. It's a mouthful. Rapid rehousing and permanent supportive housing for chronically homeless families. So, what does that mean? That means a few things. So, rapid rehousing is a program under CHG intended to move homeless clients into stable housing and can be used just for move-in or can be used for up to 6 months. It's a program exclusively for clients that are homeless under the HUD definition and can provide some things. So just really quick, the HUD definition is literal homelessness. So for a lot of our grants, we can work on the basis that, okay, let's say you're couch surfing. Okay, I would typically consider that to be homeless, but under stricter definitions, it's not. And so this particular grant for rapid rehousing is intended exclusively for directly, absolutely homeless individuals. So that would be, moving from their car, for example, or moving from the direct street. And we've had, challenges with meeting that definition because, to be honest, it can feel pretty silly sometimes to deny someone because they're not homeless enough. But that is the parameters of this program, and so we have to work through it and make sure that we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's to make sure that we are making sure people are eligible effectively for this programming. So they need to provide a couple things. So housing identification services. So landlords have to provide information to rapid rehousing participants and assist households in securing housing. So it has to be a landlord that's willing to work with us, right? We can't just force payment to the client. We have to work with the landlord. We provide financial assistance to cover move-in costs and deposits, as well as ongoing rent or utility payments. So there's a little bit of flexibility here. And then they're tied to the case manager. So a case manager will be providing services and connecting to community resources to help them find stability. So 6-month program, right? Rapid rehousing, then moves into a permanent supportive housing. So it's two programs, but it's one program that joins up to the other. Permanent supportive housing for chronically homeless families is a non-time limited housing with supportive services for homeless households that include a household member with a permanent disability. So basically what that means is if they have a permanent disability, we can then upgrade their rapid rehousing into a permanent housing. And so instead of a 6-month program, then it's an indefinite program. This is a very rare occasion, a rare program. And we're often in difficult situations trying to balance how much we spend in permanent supportive housing versus rapid rehousing and the efficacy thereof. I believe right now we have 4 individuals who are on permanent supportive housing. So not too dissimilar from our CBER program. That's a small list for what we have as permanent supportive housing. And again, I think that often surprises people with just how little and how low our permanent is. But the good news about that is we can opt to have more rapid rehousing. And so we can increase the amount of move-in assistance that we give to folks who may not have a behavioral component for HARPs, for instance, right? This allows us to find more components, but they have to be literally homeless. So that makes a challenge for things like setting up, employment or setting up just different elements for their life that they need to be successful and stable. Okay, that's CHG, Rapid Housing, Permanent Support Housing. Again, 6-month program into potentially a permanent program if there's permanent disability. Let's talk about transitional. So KCR transitional and what we call COC or continuum of care transitional and Section 8. So we don't manage Section 8, but a lot of our clients are working towards that. And so we assist them through case management. So let's talk about that. So transitional housing for KCR and for continuum of care in the community, it's a 2-year program. So transitional programming is a maximum of 2. And you can either do, you can do a year in KCR transitional and then a year in continuum of care in the community. KCR transitional pretty much just means it's our houses, right? So we have some properties that we manage, and so there are transitional properties, but we can also assist with other transitional properties that are designated out in the community too as well. It doesn't always have to be a KCR unit. And so we play the referral or the recommending role. This is a subcontract, by the way, from Bremerton Housing Authority. And so we recommend families with children. So that's a component that's required for KCR units or without children for units in the community. So again, if it's a KCR house, that would be families, but we can also assist individuals with non-KCR housing out in the community. So once someone is approved, they attend a 2-hour orientation with the Bremerton Housing Authority, and then they're given 120 days to shop for housing with possible exceptions that we can advocate for from a case management perspective. But ideally, it's 120 days from orientation to locate a place. So as you can imagine, there's kind of an element of readiness here that is not required of clients, but certainly helpful for meeting client success. So KCR case manager is going to help secure approved housing in the community or KCR housing, and they'll then be inspected. So we coordinate for an inspection with Bremerton Housing Authority. As you can imagine, there's some bureaucracy involved there. They also are having their impacts from the federal government right now. So there are certainly challenges to timetables for that, but we really do enjoy work with Bremerton Housing Authority, and we find that they're great partners for communicating whether there's delays or shortages or whatever it is that they might be facing. For Section 8 clients, KCR is asked to case manage approximately 6 months to help them stabilize. So again, this is kind of a partnership element. We do this kind of pro bono. This is why it's important that we braid in other programs like FCS to support our programming, because there's just some case management that KCR offers that we've always offered, but we just do it for free. And so this is an example of that, where we don't manage Section 8, but we want our clients to be successful in navigating Section 8. Okay, so we try to help them stabilize and find basically a more stable situation towards permanence. The goal is that they become self-sufficient and can reach sustainability by the end of their program term, so ideally within 2 years. They have the option to graduate and receive a Section 8 voucher if one is available, right? So that's really the great thing about this program is moving through 2 years, for instance, and it could be sooner too, but presumably 2 years at a transitional house. And then if they complete it and we say, yep, green stamp, they met with their case manager, they were doing the plan, they were doing the right things, Bremerton Housing Authority can then offer them a Section 8 voucher, which is pretty incredible. Bummer thing right now, of course, with shutdown, there's a lot of that is kind of paused and delayed. But we were having great success with that before the shutdown that we're really proud of. So during this past year, because of some impact, there were 18 people that received Section 8 vouchers. That they were effectively going to lose it because the government shut down. So we had literally, it was the day before orientation with Bremerton Housing Authority, and then the government shut down. And so for those individuals, we just quickly moved them to our transitional. We said, we'll do prioritization because they were, moments away from getting their Section 8. And we want them to. We don't want them to fall through the cracks and to lose that opportunity. So we try to work in conjunction with Bremerton Housing Authority in terms of prioritization. And so this was a great example where we did some quick prioritization to ensure that folks did not lose their eligibility, which was really, really key. Okay, that is transitional. We move forward, unless there's any questions on transitional or otherwise. I think I'm doing okay for time. Okay, I'm gonna rush quickly.
We're at 3 minutes, so this could be like a natural place to pause. And happy to do it's not, you are doing amazing work, so happy to do a second one of these if you weren't able to make it through all your content.
I'm going to do a super quick speed round, and then maybe I can share the PowerPoint with you to
That'd be great.
share out. That would work.
Be great.
really quick, just want to talk about upstream, right? So all parts of that continuum, homelessness prevention is that upstream. So we work with folks before they're evicted. They might have an eviction notice. They might, they might just be at risk. Maybe they lost their job. That happens a lot where there's a employment issue. And so anyway, we work with subcontracted organizations, and this is part of our anti-racist initiative too as well. And so what we do here is we subcontract with other organizations, so they have their own prioritization pools. Maybe there's clients that might be more likely to go to another organization rather than KCR. So we want to be more accessible here. So we subcontract out for eviction prevention and work with other organizations, as well as our own caseload for helping individuals who are housed but at risk. That's a 6-month plus program, but it's typically about 6 months that goes off a tapered amount. So that first week maybe pay their arrears, maybe full first month, and then they pay more and more after that over time. We also have project-based vouchers, similar, right? So not Section 8, but with vouchers. And I think that is my speed run for getting you all as best I can. Here's some numbers for our housing numbers and what we have in transition. So all are either full or moving through it. We also have veteran support. I'm the director of veterans. I picked that up in my role too. So we have a lot of different veteran support that's out there with our Veterans Assistance Fund. And thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
Nice. Well, to wrap us up, Thomas, it was so thorough. It was very well done. I really appreciate your presentation. I learned a lot. And I was very familiar with your program, and I still learned stuff, so that was great. I'm curious if there's a good contact. We have a lot of care coordinators on here, and I know some of the feedback that I hear is like sometimes when you're trying to provide care coordination on behalf, it's hard to get a hold of you all. Is there like a good phone number or email that people can reach you at to provide some care coordination?
Yes. So obviously there's the main number that you can use, but that's where you get I left a voicemail or. And so I'm going to share the contact for Amber Carter. She is our supervisor for Housing Solutions Center. I didn't go over it in this presentation, but one of the things I did in the organizational development work here was really expanded out the capacity of the supervision team. So when I got here, I don't know, I'm sure everyone here has probably either met Ali Moyer or worked with her in the past or maybe heard of her, but she was pretty much like holding the whole fort down, And so one of the things I did was I promoted her, it was one thing I did, and then expanded out the amount of supervisors that reported to her so that way she just has an easier time of managing this capacity. Amber Carter is our official supervisor for coordinated entry. So you have a supervisor you can go to. So I always recommend, you can contact any other navigators, but if you CC Amber Carter, CC Ali Moyer, that's a really effective way to get a hold of supervision and management. You can call. We're trying to get better at our processing speed. So typically it's within 24 hours we're going to get back to you for a phone call. And we also do walk-in. So at any time anyone wants to just walk in, they're absolutely allowed to for the Housing Solutions Center, whether that's Fishline, Helpline House, or our offices at 1201 Park Avenue, 845 8th Street, or the one in Port Orchard. I can't call the exact address right now.
Yeah, if you want to send over their contacts so that when I do the wrap up, I can have that all included. And Thomas, yeah, if you want to send over your PowerPoint so I can share it with folks, that would be great. Whatever is allowable to share.
Yep. I will do that. If I can give you that promise by end of day, I have a back-to-back meeting right after this one I got to jump into. So if you give me by end of day, I can certainly do that.
You've got a couple days, so if you need end of week, that's totally fine.
Oh,
Cool.
thank you. Be careful with that, but thank you.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to stop recording.